So I'm going to cover a little bit about aerospace in Colorado and a little bit about Lockheed Martin. Then I'm going to talk about ways that you could get involved if you like, whether that's through your business, if you have an interest in getting in the supply chain, for instance, or if it's just a community activity or activities for kids. To start with a question, some of you, I know this, but we're still trying to get the word out. So what is the #1 aerospace state in the country? Colorado, yes. How many people, so not embarrassing, how many people didn't know that? Yeah, we're still trying to get the word out. Colorado is the #1 state for aerospace employment per capita in the entire country. And almost no one knows it because we don't launch rockets from here. You know, they don't make movies about, Denver, we have a problem. Houston, we have a problem, right? So we're still trying to get the word out about Colorado. We have more employment, again, per capita than any other state. We're even #2 in raw numbers. California is #1, but they're, have like 8-10 times our population. And we have a much greater percentage of our population employed in aerospace than any other state. And it's not just big business. I'm very proud to work for Lockheed Martin, the depth of what we do, the breadth of what we do, the history. We have Boeing, Sierra Nevada, other large companies. But Deborah Wilcox is here. She's got a small 3D printing company that does some parts for aerospace. So it goes all the way to small companies and everywhere in between. And it's the whole ecosystem that makes Colorado a great place for aerospace, because we also have universities. We have the MSU Denver. We just started an advanced manufacturing program with them. We have CU Boulder that has a long history in aerospace. We have Colorado School of Mines and the characterization of additively manufactured material, and they're also now looking at asteroid mining and those sorts of things. So it's the whole ecosystem is what makes Colorado great. How did we get that way? How did Colorado become the #1 aerospace state in the country? There's a clue on the date of the slide here. What was happening during that time? The Cold War. Yep, the Cold War. So, I'm giving you the short version of this story. At this time, during the Cold War, Soviet sub-launched missiles could not hit this part of the United States. And so that's why you got NORAD located here, because of the distance from the coast, the perceived safety of the mountains. I said perceived safety. Because nuclear weapons could still blow up a mountain. So if that's how the military got located here, then you had business locate here to start providing services to the military, including the Glenn L. Martin Company. And then it branches out to civil uses, which is now why we have so many federal labs, the Weather Service, other things here. And then it branches out to commercial uses, which is why you have Maxar, now Digital Globe, and many other companies that do commercial aspects of space. Which, by the way, is a quick aside, an advertisement for Maxar. If you really want to know why space is relevant to life, and I think there's a lot of reasons why it's relevant, but this was, I found, a super compelling story. Go on their website or just Google slave ship Maxar. One of their satellites busted a slave ship a few years ago. And how many people are surprised to know there's still slave ships? There are still slave ships. It talks about the story of how they found it, how it was reported, and it shows those people going back to their families, some after many, many years. So that is just an amazing story. I think space is relevant for a lot of reasons, but that is one that I find particularly compelling. We do everything in Colorado except launch rockets. Maybe at some point we will do that. Spaceport Colorado, Front Range Airport, has got designations as spaceport. Right now, that's a lot of research and development. But at some point here, we may even start to launch rockets or launch spacecraft from Colorado. So one of the reasons that we do this and get out and talk about aerospace is because we think when people aren't aware of aerospace, and it's not, people have jobs and lives and families, they're busy. It's our responsibility to get the word out, and I think we haven't done that as much over the last many years. And I think there are consequences to that. Here's what one of the consequences is. So think about it this way. Since the dawn of the space age, there have always been two nations that could put people into space. At the beginning of the space age, the two nations that could put people into space were who? The United States and the Soviet Union. Today, there are still two nations that can put people into space. But we're not one of them. Did you guys know that? I mean, a lot of people are like, it's something that sometimes you know, but you don't realize, right? You start to think about, oh yeah, I guess we don't. We don't have the ability to get our own astronauts into space, and we haven't since the shuttle retired. How do we do? So what do the two nations put people in space right now? Yep, Russia and China. So Russia and China are the two nations that put people in space. So we are still getting our own astronauts into space. One just came back yesterday, right? You saw the news? How are we getting them back? Where'd she land? Kazakhstan. Yep. We're paying the Russians right now. And I'm not against international cooperation. If I had more time, I'd talk more about that. But it's one thing to cooperate. It's another thing to be dependent. And we have been dependent. Now, bringing those thoughts full circle, when the US public, when average citizens don't know the importance of space, I think that trickles up to the elected officials, and that's why we didn't fund a replacement for the shuttle in time. So some of us call it the space paradox. At a time when space is more important to our daily lives, our economy, our healthcare, everything than ever, we realize it less because it's become so common, which is great that it's common, but there are challenges with that. Good news is Colorado's at the forefront of changing that. Sierra Nevada was mentioned earlier. They got a cargo contract with the Dream Chaser. We're partners with them on that to carry cargo to the space station. They have a deal with the United Nations to kind of timeshare a spacecraft, and so I think you'll start to see UN space missions at some point in the future using a Colorado-built spacecraft. And then Orion is the deep space capsule. Orion is the name of the capsule. Artemis is the name of the mission. Like Apollo, right? The Apollo missions, these are the Artemis missions, and Artemis is going to take the next man and the first woman to the moon, and then eventually on to Mars within the next few years, if funding stays constant and we can keep on pace. Anybody familiar with Greek mythology? Who's Artemis? Apollo's twin sister. See, Apollo missions, Artemis, yeah. Yeah. Okay. So the purpose of this slide is just to show you, so if you think about a classroom globe you'd find in a typical classroom, this just shows you the distance. So the space station's about a 1/4 inch from that globe. The moon is about 50 feet, so the back of the room, and Mars is 10 miles from this globe. So that just gives you the range. And the other thing this shows is one of the challenges we have is people understanding the space paradox, if space is still important. The second one is not every rocket is like every other rocket, not every spacecraft's like every other spacecraft. That's one of the, why don't we just let Elon Musk do it all? Well, Elon Musk is a wonderful company, they do great things, but they don't do everything. And Boeing's building the Space Launch System, which is the big rocket, which is going to be necessary to get us back to the moon and onto Mars. And think about spacecraft, like both rockets and the capsules, or the crew vehicle, like you would a vehicle on the road. You look outside on the road, you see different vehicles because they do different things. You wouldn't commute to work in an 18-wheel cargo truck, and you wouldn't carry goods from a warehouse to a store in a 4-passenger sedan. Different vehicles do different things, so you need more than one. We're also the home of GPS here. GPS is not just convenient for finding your way here. Frankly, I would argue that the most important part of GPS is the timing signal, down to about 100 billionth of a second, and that enables all sorts of financial transactions, encryption for software. All these things are enabled because of the GPS network, and those are built right here in Colorado. Lockheed Martin is headquartered back east, but the Space Division is headquartered right here in Colorado. These are the things we do, and I'm not going to go through all of them. How we say it is we protect, connect, and explore. So protecting is things like weather satellites also, because when you know where and when severe weather's coming, it saves lives and property. And of course, we do military systems, defense systems, missile defense systems. Connecting is GPS, communication satellites, both civil, military, commercial, and then of course, exploring. Orion's part of that, as well as our robotic spacecraft that explore the universe. Oh, by the way, so it's really cool to explore Mars, but so what? Why we have so many other things to spend that money on? Why is it worth exploring Mars? I would argue that it's largely because of the technologies you develop when you do that benefit life here on Earth. Cars are safer, get better gas mileage because of composites developed for the space program, batteries, all sorts of things. Mammogram technology was optimized because of software that was originally developed for the Hubble telescope. to enable earlier detection of breast cancer now. So all exploration has a lot of benefits that do affect life here on Earth and enable our economy and all sorts of things. This is where Lockheed Martin is located, the blue states. This is our impact. How many people we have? About 10,000 total for Lockheed Martin in Colorado, about 8,000 are space. If you are interested in doing business with Lockheed Martin, send me an email or talk to me, and I can talk you through about how this works, about the process to get into our supply chain. And now, where I'm going to end pretty much is on these kinds of events. If this 10 minutes, or was super, 10 minutes and 43 seconds, was super interesting to you, there's a bunch of ways that you can get involved. Shoot me an email, I will send these to you. Even if it's just because you want, like for instance, the biggest space symposium in the world is down in Colorado Springs, the end of March, beginning of April. About 15,000 people, every space agency, many companies from around the world. You can come down, just learn a little bit more about space. I mean, how we view it is, the space program is largely your space program as taxpayers. We would like you to have a glimpse of it. Maybe you'll be inspired and want to talk to other people about it as well. We also have an internship program for students. So again, if you have anybody, they're both high school and college students, if they're interested, shoot me a note. We'll send you the details of that. Aerospace Day at the Capitol, all day downtown on March 10th, if you want to come down. We organize tours occasionally, so we can talk for Denver South if they want to organize a tour to come out sometime. A lot of cool things to see. Space is important. Here, and there's my email and phone number. So for a high energy presentation, we're going to end on a whimper. There you go.